Matt Harvey has been suspended for 3 games without pay for violating team rules. The suspension went into effect yesterday. Both Sandy Alderson and Terry Collins would not go into what actually occurred, but here's what Terry did say.
Is there anything you can tell us about this at all?
No, we're not going into it into depth. We are gonna keep it in-house the way it's supposed to be.
That being said, without getting into specifics, there have been incidents now with Matt over the course of his career, namely in the playoffs. How difficult as a manager is it to, deal with this from the same person more than once?
Well, there are, Steve, there's things with this job that certainly are internal that, the public can't see and how hard it is, and this one's a tough one. So, we hope to put it behind us and move forward.
In terms of Wilk, was there an indication that this was happening last night to get him out here?
Yeah, we, to be honest, there were some moves made last night that, because we felt this might occur, that we had to protect our pitching staff a little bit.
How frustrating is this? I mean, it seems like day after day something crops up for you guys, injuries, now something off field or whatever happened. Just how frustrating have these 5 weeks been for you?
Well, again, Jared, it's, as I said, the fun part about this job starts at 7:05 and 1:05 or 1:10. There's things that go on that you deal with every day that, make the job difficult, but, it comes with the territory. So this is one of those instances, and, you got to take the entire club into perspective. It's a big picture of things, and in order to be able to control things, you've got to sometimes make tough decisions, and this is one of them.
Matt?
They're just trying to understand what you just said. Is this something that had been brewing? Is this something that specifically happened today? I mean,
again, I'm not getting into it, Matt. I'm not getting any more stuff on Matt. Sandy, I think, said it all. We're going to, hopefully, as I said, we're just going to move past it, and hopefully in a short period of time we can get back to normal.
Coming as this has a week after Noah didn't go for his MRI, and with general, have you had a meeting, or are you going to have a meeting and say, grow the hell up? We got a chance to be a pretty good team here. Just grow up and start acting like men.
Marty, you know me better. I'll probably phrase it just a hair different than that, but
I was going to use it.
yeah, I will probably. I'm going to have. Matter of fact, when we break up here, I need a few minutes with the team personally, then before you guys are allowed in there.
So Terry and Sandy equally tight-lipped about what actually happened, but this discussion really starts with Noah Syndergaard being out. It had been discussed that Harvey might be one of these guys to step up, be the leader of this rotation, as he has been in the past. And whatever he did, I'm going to say this 100 times as this show goes on, I promise you, we don't know what it was. We're not guessing, we're not speculating. We're talking about something. It's a 3-game suspension. That is what happened. But with what has happened, can he be viewed again in that role as the leader of a rotation when you're suspended, when your team really needs you?
I think he's got some ground to make up to be able to be, thrust right back into that role. I think he wanted it. He embraced it when he first came to town here. I think he deserved it. I think he has had some interesting behavior in his last few starts, his post-game interviews. Doesn't seem like the same guy. He lost a little bit of fire maybe. So I think for him to, we're talking about a 3-game suspension that we don't really know the details of, and letting your teammates down, obviously disappointing to Sandy and Terry, making moves in the midst of what's already a tornado around here. So I think he's got some ground to make up, and it's going to have to be proven on the field as well as in the clubhouse, as well as off the field. So he's got some challenges to overcome.
Yeah, there's been a series of little things over the course of the last few years for Harvey. If you go back to the practice in 2015 and the playoffs, there are small things, certainly nothing of this size or nature, but something you mentioned there, Todd, the post-game press conference after his last start. He said he felt great. The stat line certainly didn't reflect that feeling. This is a guy people have called a bulldog in this rotation, a guy who's really happy to take take the ball, but wants his best product on the field at all times. Was that maybe a sign to you, a red flag, that he was willing to accept mediocrity, 6 earned runs in a start, and say he felt great, he thought his stuff was good? That
was obviously a little bit not just unusual, but it was where you scratch your head and you think, okay, is there something else going on here? Because when it was during spring training and he came off outings that he got hit around a little bit, but he showed some progress and he showed some arm strength and he showed a little bite on his breaking ball, and he talked about that. It seemed like, hey, maybe he's more mature. It seemed like a maturity level in him instead of just blowing off the press or saying things that were flippant. But now it seems like he is settling a little bit. And look, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know if his arm really feels as good as he's saying it is. You don't know if he really feels like the ball's coming out of his hand better than it has for 3 years. Those things only he knows, but it is unusual to see his character change. And it also has had an effect, I think, the way he looks as far as even his competitiveness and his drive on the field. So I think as fans watching, as analysts watching, you have to wonder what else is going on in there besides just not doing what he can do, I think what he's capable of.
And we talk about this 3-game suspension when you were a player. Did you ever experience anything like this on a roster you were on?
No, I don't think I ever really experienced anything exactly like this. But the one thing that I can say is that there were times when guys would violate rules, and the reality is, in most big league clubhouses, there's not a ton of rules. I mean, there's a rule sheet that is handed out in case something goes bad, and they have the ability to say there's rules. But most managers, look, show up to work, be on time, work hard, support your team, and most of the other stuff is incidental. So something that is a rule violation, it's unusual, and most of the time, I don't say it's right or wrong, but most of the time, if something was a rule violation that was out of his control, you see a manager and a GM sort of stick up for the guy, maybe say he's not feeling well, he's going to miss his start for undisclosed reasons. For them to say it's a 3-game suspension because of violation of rules tells you a little bit, I think, that they're kind of tired of the behavior.
Right, and 3 games, it doesn't sound awful on paper, at least when you read it. It is 1 start, but it's a big deal. To suspend a guy without pay for 3 games means whatever happened was probably fairly serious.